You are listening to CrossTalk, a safe place to discuss addiction, recovery, harm reduction, and everything in between. Support for this podcast comes from the Kentucky Opioid Response Effort and Advocates of Recovery. Content and production by the team at Turning Point Recovery Community Center. Now, buckle up and get ready for the show.
Welcome everyone to CrossTalk Recovery, the recovery podcast that supports all forms of recovery. I'm Matt Lewis, and I'm here with
Sam Peterson,
Nathan Brockett.
I'm Douglas Emery.
Welcome, guys. Today, we're going to talk about return to use. And we had Douglas on. Douglas, this was your idea. And I think it's a great topic to talk about because we haven't focused a podcast on that yet.
Right.
And, you know, you can have it. Well, go ahead.
I like that you have two return to use and two non-return to use.
Well, I was
guys here.
I was going to address that right now. You know, like we could have an argument on the whole is return to use, formerly known as relapse.
Right.
Just to clear that up. You know, we could talk about is it a part of recovery or not. I mean, some people say it's a lack of recovery. Some people say it's a part of recovery.
Yeah.
The fact is, it's a reality of recovery. You know.
Yeah.
It happens, whether we want it to or not. And it takes what it takes. But yes, Sam, you have some experience with this. Douglas has lots of experience with this.
He's an experimenter.
Yeah.
And
Overachiever.
personally, I waited. I was out there for 30 years. And by the time I was ready to get sober, I was ready. And then I try to learn now from other people's mistakes. You know, I see, from other people what they go through, and I don't want to go through that again. So I've been trying to watch that. You know, you see what happens to other people. The streets are winning, as they say.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Well, Sam, tell me about your experience with returning to use.
Well, I mean, it's a lot darker, a lot faster, I think, when you return to use. You know, usually for me, I'd been through a few programs before, you know, not some time underneath my belt, and went back out there. I don't know if it's how they say it, lack of recovery, this or that. I think it's a learning process, you know. I'm grateful for both of them now, and I'm really grateful that I made it back, you know, to being.
We are too.
Yeah, and when I think about it, there was definitely some things I weren't doing, you know, and I don't know if it's stuff you don't know, you know, because the programs you can work are different, of course, and there's people that find recovery many different ways. Do I think that relapse is part of recovery? I think it can be.
Yeah.
It's part of
return to use.
Return to use. I'm sorry, that's new terminology still for me, you know.
Yeah.
And we might talk about some of the new language too here today. But
And I think language is important, you know, It is, but it's part of my recovery story. And I just like you have your recovery story, Doug has his, and Nathan has his. Even if we're working the same program, our recovery stories are going to be different.
yes.
And I don't know that it has to be, because I know guys that haven't returned to use. I know guys that have. I know girls that have. You know, but I think the important thing is you just keep trying.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I think there is no shame in it.
No.
There is no sense in shaming yourself for making a mistake. A lot of the things we read and we study is for being peer supports is stages of change, the trans theoretical model. And that's one of the stages of change. You know what I mean? That's how, you know, a lapse, rather, is what they refer to it as. And I think for you guys that have had your lapses, and being able to come back from that is almost like a written out survival guide for these folks. Because can you imagine after, speaking of someone who hasn't had a return to use, could you imagine having multiple years of recovery under your belt and then you make a silly decision? Wrong place, wrong time, wrong set of circumstances.
I don't have to imagine.
Right. Well, me and Matthew here, you know, I'm just thinking how the feeling that comes behind that. You know, they talk about guilt, shame, remorse, you know, those things like that. But my thought is like, oh, God, what does the world see of me? What do people think about me? You know what I mean?
For sure.
I think that one of the things that scares me the most is like, I know that when I got to treatment, I was spiritually dead.
Yeah.
And throughout my recovery process, I have developed a sense of spirituality that I really, truly means a lot to me today, you know? And I think from talking to other people who've gone back out, you know, having that just severed would hurt probably the most above the guilt and shame and remorse. You know, what about you, Doug? Tell us a little bit about your experience with return to use. Because, look, we love Doug.
Oh, yeah.
And we mess with Doug a lot. He's one of my dear friends. You've been through Centerpoint 3 times in less than 2 years.
Yeah,
completed it every time.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you learned through that process. Because that is one thing I always tell anybody that, you know, working with a Turning Point, I don't care what you've done.
Yeah.
Glad you're alive. What are you going to do now? Like, what did you learn? Did you learn something from it? That's the important thing, that you're alive and you hopefully learned a valuable lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as Centerpoint, going through Centerpoint the first time, I did everything they asked me to do. Just follow the steps. Man, I didn't really care for the program as much as I did this last time. Peer mentored there the second time. Didn't get no consequences or nothing. And this third time, man, something clicked with me, man. I found God. For real, I found God. Had a good sponsor. Had a sponsor that relapsed on me, or
Return to use.
Yeah, returned to use on me. But old Nathan over here, he's a good sponsor for me, and I appreciate him. Centerpoint helped me a lot this time. They never gave their backs on me. They never turned their backs on me, man. My family never turned their backs on me. Want me to do the next right thing, help others, man.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I feel good today.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you're doing great. You have a year within less than a month.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah, that's a long time, my friend.
yeah.
Longest I've ever been sober right here.
Mm-hmm.
And the willingness you got behind it too has grown massively since those last 2 times, man. You know, you spotted where you messed up. You know what I mean? And you've stuck with it. You've stuck with the people. You know, the fellowship and the things that made you happy once before. There's just, you know, they were there the whole time.
And staying around here. this time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, staying plugged into a recovery community.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for me. I surround myself with people in recovery.
Yeah.
So if I'm slipping some in some aspect of it, somebody's going to tell me, because I have friends that don't mind to you know, that's what makes them friends, though.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if I see Nathan slipping, I'm going to tell him. If he sees me sleeping, he's going to tell me, and the same goes for all y'all. And do I always like hearing stuff like that? Absolutely not, you know. But I'm glad man, I'm blessed to have the friends I have in my life today. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many factors that come into it. You know, it could be you slipping on the things that you know you need to do. You know, going back around people, places, old people, places, and things. An event in your life that you just weren't prepared to handle properly, and you deal with it the wrong way. And there's so many factors, triggers, all those things. And you know, for me, one of the things that helped me, which I don't know if I've told this story on here, but the story of my buddy who, while I was in treatment, he'd been sober for 7 years, and one of his buddies overdosed and died, and he went to his memorial, and he used again, and he overdosed and died. And, you know, young in recovery, I was messed up about that.
Yeah.
You could have 7 years and go back out and die. Like, what's the point? But ultimately, I was able to change my perspective on it and realize that I have to remain vigilant in this. And that's the same way. I just have stayed as connected as possible. I still tell people I'm still baby stepping my way out of treatment, almost 3 years sober, because I know that if I start to drift away from the things that I see working in everyone else's life and the things that have been working for me thus far, then I'm just as at risk as anybody is. You know, nobody's safe, no matter how much sober time you have.
Look, I have the disease of addiction. It's a disease. It's a lifelong disease. And one of the hardest things to come back after return to use is going back and around your recovery friends, telling people you messed up. Incredibly hard. And I think it's sometimes that's our fault, you know. Like when a guy comes back in and somebody's like, "Well, what'd you do, stupid?" Or some of the things you hear when people return to use. Well, that is not good language, which we'll talk about here in a minute, because this guy or girl has acted out on their disease, right? I have a disease of addiction.
Yeah.
I've acted out on it, and now people want to ridicule you for it, which is maybe fine a little bit down the road, But I mean, when it just happens, kindness, compassion. I mean, because I promise you, if you don't think it can happen to you, it can.
Oh yeah. Yeah, me and Sam was having a conversation yesterday, and I was like, man, I will never be naive enough to believe that I won't have a return to use. I'll never, ever say that that'll never happen to me. Because people that I never thought it would happen to, lo and behold, you know what I mean? And we've seen it. And among us, we've seen those people,
I was so sure about it in 2018 that I got it tattooed on my arm.
Can we get a zoom on the tattoo here?
And that is not my sobriety date.
Now, see, I got a tattoo as well, and it still is. So I'm
good, though.
trying to learn from your mistake.
I got 3 of them.
Yeah.
Sobriety dates?
Yeah.
Oh, I do too. This is the second one.
You don't have them tattooed on you, though.
No, but I got them memorized.
Okay.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I think, and every one of them is important because it's a learning process.
Course.
And I think about when I got into recovery for the first time, and I really didn't want it at all.
Yeah.
I was sent to Centerpoint by probation parole.
Mm-hmm.
I still didn't believe I had a problem.
Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So I was definitely still in that pre-contemplation stage.
Absolutely.
And man, I ended up, doing enough that I stayed not using for 3 years. I wasn't very happy.
Yeah.
My life was still pretty unmanageable at times, and then the return to use happened.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was I wasn't very willing to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I still thought I could do most of it myself, still strong-headed even then. And then, more charges, drug court.
Yeah, of course.
And then on that time, man, I refused to help others.
Yeah.
Refused, huh?
Refused.
Like out of your way to, nope.
No,
not open you.
Get away from me.
I don't have time, my job, this or that.
It's a selfish program.
I'm more important than you.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think one of the biggest things about recovery is you have to help other people in some sort of way.
Yeah.
It's super tied into my recovery now, and I think that's how you actually get to keep it. No matter what program you're working.
That's what helps me stay sober.
Yeah, that's where I find happiness too.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head too. There's so much more to a return to use than just returning to using.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? There's all these other factors that can go, especially for people us in recovery that would we have it outlined for us that you should be doing this the suggestions.
Yeah.
But it's not just it keeps us from returning to use. It keeps us happy. It keeps us in that spiritual frame of heart, mind, and body where we don't want to return to use. Not just because a return to use would be wrong. A return to use for me would be devastating for the spiritual aspect. There's so many things that'll affect me mentally, make me feel just bad. Mm-hmm. And there, if I keep myself on that level playing field of the spiritual condition we speak about all the time, I won't have any need to delve into that kind of stuff that could ultimately make me feel like crap.
And my thinking was on the last one was, hey, I'm going to go get some meth. I'll just use for this weekend.
Of
Nobody ever know.
Yeah, I got it.
It gets worse from there.
I didn't draw. There wasn't a day I didn't use for 3 months straight till I checked myself into treatment.
Right.
Yeah.
Not a single day.
Mm-hmm.
This last time hit me real hard.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting around with your group of using friends, and you're the guy there talking about the big book or whatever recovery program you work.
Picture that.
It's just ruining everybody else's time because your time's been ruined because you've been to rehab so many times.
Y'all need to go to rehab.
We'll be right back.
One thing I have always wondered is who put the alphabet in alphabetical order. At Turning Point, our goal is to help you put your life back in order. If you struggle or have struggled with substance use disorder and are in need of help, come see us at 415 Broadway Street, Paducah, Kentucky, or call 270-444-3621 and sign up for peer support services with one of our friendly staff who have lived experience with addiction. Hope to see you soon.
Hey y'all, did you know it's illegal to own just one guinea pig in Switzerland because they get lonely? Here at Turning Point, we don't want you to ever be lonely either. That's why we're open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Always feel free to come hang with our friendly staff and don't forget your guinea pig. We're located at 415 Broadway Street, downtown Paducah.
Don't take the fact that return to use it is serious. These are things that just because I haven't had a return to use, it's we're not shedding it in a comical light. It's more because Sam and they're some big players in recovery for me personally. You know what I mean? So I can look at their story and we kind of poke fun at each other about it. It is a serious topic for sure.
Oh, it's funny now that it's over.
Oh,
for me.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was not funny while it was happening.
What upsets me is when I'll see a guy that we come back around after he's returned to use, and he comes up with a big smile on his face like it's all a big joke. Because reality is you're lucky to be alive.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to hit. For sure.
We mess with Doug a lot about it because I don't know anybody. You see lots of guys come back through Centerpoint, but I don't know anybody that's been through three times.
Got a three-peat under his belt, still
less than
kicking
2
tail
years,
though.
and Fuller Center.
Yeah,
It was
So
real hard walking up them steps.
I bet
I guarantee
the
it.
humility you shown, man.
Shame,
That's
guilt, remorse.
golly. That's what separates people a lot of times. You know what I mean?
It's what keeps a lot of people from coming back.
yeah, and the fact that you had the willingness to do that three
Yeah.
times and complete it every time, I mean,
If you think people
kudos
aren't
to you.
proud of you, you're crazy. I assure you. People are extremely proud of you and where you've come. I mean, Sam, he's got people here that saw him at his lowest, and we're all proud. Everybody is proud of you guys for being able to show humility and pick it back up. And y'all are literally like people that are showing other people how to do it, that it can be done. That relapse doesn't have to be a terminal condition. You know what I mean? That's not what it is.
It does not.
No.
And man, it was tough coming back to Centerpoint that second time for me. It'd been a long time since I'd been there.
Yeah.
But I'd worked there previous. And man, it was tough. And then the director there, Miss Thelma Hunter, I had to walk in and talk to her. That was horrible. But she's the most kind, compassionate lady ever. But, just having to face her, after you've been, after the return of use, it's not a good feeling. And I think that's what keeps a lot of times for people getting back up on the horse and doing it. And the thing is everybody that cares about you just wants you to get better.
Right.
And part of that is just walking back in there,
Yeah.
And nobody's really mad at you. They're usually happy that you made it back.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you make it back, you're one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely the life hangs in the balance moment for the folks that actually do walk up, like Matt said, they're the lucky ones for sure. And as Sam said earlier, being those compassionate people to receive those folks. Because, like I said, I can't imagine how that feeling must feel. And that's what I would want is people like us, the compassionate people. Hey, man, come here. Let's figure this out. Don't feel so bad. It's a mistake.
And shout out to Kentucky,
Yeah,
for
sure.
having these RKCs that you can go to, and you might be a waiting list a little bit, but I mean, there's I don't know of many long-term treatment centers that just will take you in and you don't have to pay a dime.
Right.
Yeah.
And the availability for treatment for people. And it's not like they're just like, oh, well, you had a good run, but you can't try again. It's never that.
No.
It's always, hey, we're going to keep going. We're going to figure out what's going to work for you. What did we miss last time? Let's try to figure out the best way to help you instead of just
I
having
usually
this
say-
cookie cutter thing.
Let's figure out what you didn't do.
Yeah.
Because it's like a little 6 months of recovery college, so
Yeah.
let's see what part of this we didn't do.
And
I
a lot
always
of times,
say we.
Yeah, and a lot of times they'll know what they didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
What's the first thing everybody
did they not really apply themselves? Did
Yeah.
they leave something out of their fourth step? Did they,
Quit praying.
stop
Yeah.
praying? All those things and the great thing is that you hear that so often. You think, well, not the great thing, but you hear that so often from people that you think that people would learn from that, but
Yeah, well.
everybody has to learn them for themselves. I had to learn every lesson the hard way multiple times.
Yeah.
So
Most of us don't end up get here because we take simple suggestions. We're some of the
Yeah,
most hard-headed people I've ever
We
met.
come here on a winning streak. I'm not. I feel like I had to earn my place in rehab. You know what I mean?
I got to center point that second time, and I looked over, and my face was on the doing the deal wall.
somebody needs to adjust that wall
Yes,
right now.
they do. Unfortunately, they do.
My picture up there, doing the deal. I'm like,
Did you take it down?
yeah, I did.
That's like some more humility right there.
Well, at least it was on that wall and not the back wall.
Yeah, man.
Correct.
Yeah,
Man,
and especially, we're talking about people that made it. There's a lot of people that have returns to use that do not make it back.
That wall is growing.
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately.
And that's the scary part of beyond all of it, the guilt, shame, remorse, any of that, man, is the thought that one more time may be the last time. And I couldn't, now I have a family now, and it's the thought of allowing this disease to end my life. When there's so much I can do for me to, make sure that it doesn't.
I'd like to say, if I knew I was going to live this long, I took better care of myself,
Right.
I
Yeah,
didn't
well,
think it was going to make it to 40,
you're only 40?
Two. I'll be 42
He
on
made it
Saturday.
to 42. So every year
you're only in your 40s.
I'm only in my 40s.
every year is unexpected. It's a surprise for him.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to be 42, but I didn't believe I would make it to 40.
It's a surprise every day.
Well, and addressing the more about people dying, man. I mean, the game is different now. There's fentanyl and everything.
Yeah.
You can't go back out and think your tolerance is going to be at the same after you haven't used for a while. And I'm going to do the same size shot I did before I left. That's the stuff that's killing people,
Certainly is.
or not knowing what's in their drugs.
Fentanyl's in everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we seen that case the other day where the person was a methamphetamine user and had a fentanyl overdose,
Yeah.
That's scary stuff, dude. Like it's Russian roulette, and it's like almost every chamber's loaded.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's freaky to think that. I don't know. I just as many times we see it happen, and the whole thought of you think people just learn. If we could have learned,
we would have.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think with the drug supply nowadays, it was dangerous. It's using drugs is always dangerous,
yeah.
but I think it's just the increased, risk of overdose is just gets so far out of hand. And, but the thing I know about being an addict is if I'm out there ripping and running, I'm not thinking about consequences or what can happen to me because
The next fix, all you're worried about.
all I'm worried about.
Yeah.
and look, luckily. Our community is just so open-minded when it comes to Narcan distribution and the McCracken County Sheriff's Department, their Badges of Hope program, things like that are literal lifesavers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? For the people that do make the mistakes, there's not very many places in our community that I believe that if you do have a return to use, that if you walk into, they're going to help you. It's not going to be like, oh well, you're dirty because you did something wrong. It's more.
I mean, how great is it to have a police department you can walk into and go, I need help.
And they will actually help you,
Even though I'm sure that's hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
about language a little bit. What do you guys think about? Do you think there's a difference between return to use and a slip? Because some we all know once said it's only a return to use if you've worked all 12 steps, and then anything before that is just a slip.
What if I don't work an NA or AA program?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, exactly. And is there a certain amount of usage that has to be considered a return to use, or is it just you use, that's it, it's over, return to use happened, even if you go back the next day? Because I was reading some stuff on this, and it's like a lapse is just like you use one day and then you go back to work in your program, or is that considered an ultimate return to use?
Well, that's what the trans theoretical model states, is that a still small slip. is a lapse. Now, full blown diving right back into constant, like we would before, is what they classify as a relapse.
And, I mean, people are in different stages of addiction too.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know,
that
I
plays
mean,
a big part of it.
Like if you're early in your addiction, a slip may happen, and you can get right. You know, for me, if I slip, and this is purely on me, this is not for every addict or anything. I'm falling off a cliff.
Yeah,
man.
You know, I mean, I'm shooting dope. You know, so and I mean it's.
And that's knowing myself. That's one of the things that has helped to keep me from that. Is I know that I'm not going to dip my toe back in. No. You know, I'm going to just go all out. If something ever gets to the point of affects me to where that I am willing to throw it all away, the guilt and shame and remorse will set in. The pride, I won't be able to swallow my pride like I see so many other people do. I just know that I'll be, I don't know that I'll make it back.
Right.
So I remain
and I think that's
connected.
That's part of working a good program is your recovery program. On top of knowing who you are, on top of having a good fellowship, and on top of these several different things that are in place to working a good program. Which I feel like Matt has a pretty good program today.
He's an inspiration.
He is,
whether he likes it or not.
Listen, we ain't doing that. Okay.
I love it. You see him squirm on camera? He's going to edit that one out.
I'd rather you guys tell me I suck than
I'll tell you that off camera, buddy.
Hey, man, I'm more impressed to be your friend every day.
Absolutely.
Oh, shit. Well, that makes one of us. So, other current terminology with alternate terminology, and this is about, everybody. Stigma's real.
Yeah,
it affects people in different ways. Words matter. The old thing you heard as a kid, like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Yeah.
So false.
Oh, so false.
Words hurt.
And if they happen to you when you're young, they can lead to lifelong beliefs.
Start believing
trauma,
that.
PTSD, permanently scarred from the way, like especially if it's someone who loves you, tells you things about
words definitely will break you.
Yeah.
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 So, treatment is the goal. Treatment is an opportunity for initiation into recovery.
Right.
I can get done with that.
Substance use is now substance use disorder or substance misuse.
Yeah.
I don't like the misuse.
No.
Yeah.
This is just me as a person in recovery, and I'm going to tell you why. I used my drugs exactly the way I am too.
You were a professional.
Exactly.
You don't want anyone to say you weren't a professional drug user.
No, I was professional level drug user. I took real good care of them. They had their own special box.
Yeah.
Man.
So I like substance use disorder.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I don't. The misuse. That's your opinion. I feel like I was using them the way I intended.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Drug of choice is now drug of use.
Yeah, I like that better.
Yeah.
Denial is now ambivalence.
I'll tell you why I like the drug of use, though.
Okay.
Because, drug of choice means that you would only do one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Well,
there was a favorite.
Yeah.
I had a favorite, but, my favorite...
was all of them.
Oh, there you go.
I have a feel-good disease.
Yeah, I prefer this one, but if you got a little of that, let's do it together and see what happens.
Right.
Whatever you got, I think.
Yeah. I was the guy who would take the pill and be like, what was that?
Yeah.
I didn't care.
Ambivalence.
I think that word sounds so cool.
Ambivalence?
Ambivalence. Yes.
Say it again like that.
Ambivalence.
You better be careful saying it that way. You'll end up with some fan mail from the ladies,
Really?
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
As a woman in recovery, I know how important having a fellowship of women has been for me. Come join us at the Women of Worth All Recovery Support Group here at Turning Point, 415 Broadway, Paducah, Kentucky, every Friday night at 6 p.m., where we discuss our personal experiences in recovery. Hope to see you there.
Hello, everybody. You want to know something? My biggest issue with meetings is despite their name, they are never about me. Here at Turning Point, all of our meetings are for you and about you. We have meetings at least 3 times a day, 7 days a week. We are located at 415 Broadway, Paducah, Kentucky. Call 270-444-3621 for more information. See how big that eyebrow go up?
Relapse prevention is now recovery management.
All right, I like recovery management.
Yeah. Pathology-based assessment is now strength or asset-based assessment. Strength.
I like that. You know, I mean, that's because when you want to know what you're good at, you know?
Yeah.
A drug is a drug is a drug.
Okay.
Is now each illicit substance has unique interactions with the brain. Medication, if available, is appropriate.
That is a mouthful.
That is a mouthful.
Yeah.
But I understand what.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drugs are different.
Yeah, they are.
They are definitely different.
You know,
affect you differently. Yeah. And that goes back to drug of use. You know, not all of us like I wasn't big into meth.
Yeah.
You know, I preferred alcohol and heroin. You know, some people want to just be up. You know,
No, I like the old speedball.
Cocktail.
You know,
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was good too.
I like to go up and down at the same time.
Woo. Sideways.
Yeah.
Doug agrees.
Clean or sober is now drug-free, free from illicit and non-prescribed medications.
Just call myself a person in recovery.
Yeah, I'm down with person in recovery.
Yeah, that, short and
It's,
sweet.
you know-
And the clean is just about saying that implies that you may have been dirty, at some point. And it's as Brandon said earlier, it's about not making people feel icky or or bad about what they.
Well, I mean, because the more you feel bad about it, the more the guilt, shame, remorse kicks in, and that's a big part of this disease. So I can understand that.
And there's a quote that says, if you want to kill something, call it a weed. And if you love something, call it a flower.
Oh yeah,
That's what all that bases
have
on.
you ever seen the thing? I saw this on Facebook the other day. That they took like 2 jars of rice and put them dried rice and put them on the counter. And one of them they wrote hate on, and one of them they wrote love. And every morning they'd come in and you say hateful things to the one that hate, and you say nice things to the one that says love. And over the course of 2 weeks, the hate one will turn brown and nasty, and the other one just remains white.
Wow.
And that shows you exactly how much
the power
word
of positive affirmation.
What is this? A plant?
Rice.
Rice.
I
mean, look, I saw it on Facebook. Put it to the test. I have yet to put it to the
turning
test.
point
I think
experiment.
we're going to have to do this in an experiment because I'm not believing it right now.
I know it was
I
hard
know
for me
words
to believe
affect
either.
people, but I mean, rice doesn't have brain. Doesn't have any brains.
But maybe it just
It
feels
can feel
okay,
the
I'm not
vibration.
vouching for this thing. I'm just saying I saw it. Either way, whether it's true or false, words matter. Okay, that's
vibrating rice.
But if that was true, I should have said. But if it was true,
Intelligent rice. It's from outer space.
you never know what they're putting in rice these days, bro. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have to try it and let you know if it actually works.
No,
I mean, if it's on the internet, it's got to be true.
it's there.
No,
That's
yeah, absolutely.
Can't discredit any of that at all. No way. But I from all this stuff we're talking about, for sure, no doubt about it, I got to say from the bottom of my heart, I'm glad that you guys have that part of your short story to share as far as return to use. Y'all really, believe it or not, like I was telling Matt, y'all are an inspiration whether you like it or not. Somebody's watching. Somebody's probably been there and wondering how they're going to come back.
I feel like if you have return to use like I have, that it's your responsibility to help other people
Of course.
in recovery with your story to try to prevent their return to use.
Yeah.
The more we talk about it, the more that other people can learn from it. And if you talk about it, it takes away a lot of that shame.
Yeah.
Like
Well, hey, I've been there too. Oh, that person has too. Now we're coming together and we can, feel better about it.
but it's I'm supposed to be ashamed because I didn't get it the first time. I've heard guys say, well, I've never had a relapse. And I'm just like, come on,
I've never been prideful about
No.
it. And I think the reason I think that, tell me if I'm wrong here. The reason I think that
You're wrong.
even people will say that return to use is a part of recovery is because we don't want people to lose hope. That,
Right.
I returned to use and why even try?
This didn't work.
No, you have to keep trying. Yeah. It's not over. That doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It, like I said, it takes what it takes. We see people who are now like both of you all, succeeding in your recovery, giving back, helping others. And, you just had to learn a few extra lessons.
Yeah.
I think what's the average number of treatments now? 7? Somewhere around in there?
That's what more often than not,
Yeah.
people that I see are, I've been to this treatment 9 times. I've even heard people say, well, I don't know if this one's going to work either.
Well,
But I think
the treatment's the treatment.
the treatment's the treatment.
Like,
But I think still the hope behind it is the important part.
It's your willingness to change, be ready, had enough pain,
Yeah.
and do the things that are taught.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Are you ready?
Yeah.
well, I mean, I understand everybody wants to think I'm going to go to treatment one time. They're going to fix me.
Yeah, of course. That's a perfect world. It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Well, the thing is treatment is learning.
Yeah.
Learning whatever program it is. And it's, once you get that time away from the substance, medication, if you're doing that, whatever program you're working, then you've learned something. You're learning something new.
Right.
Now, for most of us, we started using it,
12,
11,
13
12,
years old.
13. So if you're my age, you're talking about, 30 years of living one way. So it's not only just for everybody, why don't they just not use? Well,
Well,
It's just that simple. But people don't know.
it's a whole new, the person is learning how to live without this substance. This substance has become a integral part of their life. I mean, that's how I dealt with death, happiness, sadness. I mean, all these emotions
Everything.
I did not know how to deal with. I mean, that was my solution to them all. So it was learning this whole new way to live.
Right.
And
Exactly right.
I mean, it takes what it. I like the saying, it takes what it takes. Takes what it takes. You get it your first time, great. You got it your 17th time, great.
Right.
I don't.
You got it.
You
That's
got
the
it.
important part.
yeah. That's why I'm super grateful for where we work and the community we reside in that's so welcoming of that. Like, okay, it's 13, 14 times, whatever. You got it this time. You know what I mean? There's no shaming. There shouldn't be. I'm not gonna say there's not. It's not a perfect world, but there shouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, always the first thing I say is, I'm glad you made it
Glad
back.
you made it.
Glad
back,
you made
man.
it back.
Yeah.
I don't. In certain groups, they give out white chips.
Yeah.
I don't always say congratulations.
No.
Because it's a.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want somebody to tell me congratulations, but I always tell. I'm so glad you made it back.
Absolutely.
And I love you. I think it's so important to greet the person that's coming back through the door with kindness, compassion,
Of course.
and some bit of understanding, and maybe even a hug.
Yeah.
And that can, I think that usually warrants a hug.
Hugs are nice. You like hugs, Doug?
Yeah,
Cool.
I love hugs.
Doug
loves
likes hugs.
All right, that could be the name.
Hey,
You got to
that's,
put that at the bottom when we put Doug's.
I'm getting shirts made.
Yeah.
Doug's face.
Doug's
loves
hugs. Like a hug store.
Like y'all say, y'all got this. I don't have this.
Whoa.
Whoa,
None of us. We
no.
never said that.
I think if you said like if I've said something like I got this, it's like
It's for the day.
yeah.
I've got this right now.
Yeah.
For forever.
For the next
Who
5
knows?
minutes, I'm good.
Yeah. I hope. Oh.
But the thought that that it can't happen to you, it's
It can happen to anybody.
Yeah, it's so naive.
One bad choice, all it takes.
it's all it takes. I always tell people all the time, it takes a whole bunch of good decisions to stay. What's the new word? Not clean or sober. What's the new one?
Drug free.
Drug free. Drug free.
Drug free.
And only one bad decision to go back out there.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, going back out there is going to be a long process.
Yeah.
Of a whole lot of people trying to get me back. Usually before I come back.
Yeah. And I think being surrounded by people that love you and care about you and being good to yourself, I think you stand a pretty good chance of
You
know,
gotta
not
learn to
having
love
return
yourself.
to use. You know what I mean?
I remember that last time I was like, "Are you using again?" And I'm like, "No, but it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Don't
I mean,
worry.
I'm gonna be fine. Nothing's gonna happen."
Yeah, I got it this time. Chill, Mom. God.
Grown man having to tell his mom, "I'm fine.
Cool.
I know you're worried because of the things I did, but yeah."
No, well, you're not.
Oh no.
Oh man.
No. Knowing the wheels are getting ready to just come off.
Well, praying that doesn't happen again.
Yes.
Praying that it doesn't happen again.
Right.
Well,
All right, guys. I just want everyone to know, not just you guys, but everyone who might be listening or watching, don't give up.
yeah.
You
Yes.
know, like we've said over and over again, it takes what it takes. There are people that care and love you. You just have to keep trying. Things happen, and hopefully you'll survive and learn something from it, and then be able to use that to help someone else.
Yeah.
Just because you return to use doesn't mean your recovery is not still happening.
Right.
You know, I know a lot of times when you go back to a treatment center, they're like, "Well, you were wrong about everything." Well, no, probably I've learned something, so it's just time for me to take that, learn some more, and keep trying.
Yeah.
It gets harder every time too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the one thing that holds true in the rooms is it gets worse, never better.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. There's nothing a drink or drug can't make worse, huh?
That's right.
You know? And I think, for people that are struggling, just because the world feels like it's falling down around you, that doesn't mean that there aren't people out there that absolutely love you and want to see you do good. I assure you. I wish I would have learned that a long time ago.
Yeah.
So,
We love you, Matt.
yeah.
All right, I love you guys too. Hey,
Inspiration
check
right
out our
here. Check 'em
YouTube version,
Everybody-
or listen to audio versions on Apple,
Everybody
Google,
compliment Matt.
Spotify,
Inspiration.
or Podbean. And as always, stay grateful.
Inspiration.
If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction or in recovery and needs guidance, speak with Turning Point's team of peer support specialists by calling 270-444-3621. You are not alone, and we are proof that recovery is possible.